Corazon Ketchum. I'm the Executive Director for Noah's Ark and Company.
Letitia Mathis, Deputy Director for Cobb and Douglas Public Health, Center for Emergency Preparedness and Response.
My name is Joseph Muhammad, Director of the Ministry of Health, Nation of Islam.
My name is Pastor Bobby Williams. The organization I'm a part of, the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship, where Bishop Paul S. Martin is the presiding bishop.
My name is Pastor Sandra Posey, and I am part of Joseph Network, and I'm also part of Marriage Equity Systems, where we love to help couples grow and develop in their relationship.
My name is Rosemary Taylor, and I am the Dean of Ministry Education and Development Systems.
John Posey, the Preacher's Trainer. I empower leaders to be the best in the world at what they do with the best technology.
My name is Karl Hoerz. I'm the Red Cross Community Resilience Specialist for the state of Georgia.
Soy Ruth Negrón, la pastora de la Catedral de Alabanza Cristo Reina y la embajadora de Joseph Network para nuestras comunidades latinas.
I am Ruth Negrón, pastor of the Cathedral of Worship Christ Reign, and a privilege to be the ambassador of the Joseph Network outreach to the community, the Hispanic community.
Joseph's Network is about bringing people who love others, who want to serve others for a good cause, focusing on faith-based organizations, people who really want to make a difference in other people's lives, and the technology and making it easier.
The partnerships, the relationships, the fact that everyone is on one accord with getting information and education out to the public.
We are part of Joseph's Network because we feel Joseph's Network is extremely important to the community. The part is the access, the ability to touch many organizations at one time.
Faiths come together so we can make a difference in our communities throughout the city of Atlanta.
The opportunity to help people that would be in a situation where they don't have food, they don't have water, or they're not educated, being prepared and being ready, and now we're ready to move forth and do something about it.
Be educated to know what to do if a disaster strikes, how to take care of themselves and their family and their community.
Leaders are the ones that really make things happen. And so what I love about Joseph Network is empowering leaders to serve their communities. And that's really what's going to make things happen here. It's a network that is leveraging the influence of various leaders of various organizations. That's extremely powerful.
The American Red Cross has partnered with Joseph's Network in order so that we can provide education and preparedness to the local communities throughout the state of Georgia.
Soy parte de Joseph Network, que es una red de iglesias y organizaciones de la comunidad para preparar y educar las comunidades para que estén listas cuando los desastres golpeen nuestras comunidades. I am part of the Joseph Network because it's a network that joins churches, communities to educate and prepare our communities to be ready for when disaster strikes.
Multiple agencies, diverse faiths.
Working together for one purpose.
Greetings. Welcome to Joseph's Network TV monthly live broadcast. I am Jahi Make It Happen Muhammad. I am with Falah Worldwide, and I also happen to serve as a board member of the illustrious Joseph's Network. First of all, I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your schedules to tune in this evening for our monthly live broadcast. And be mindful, you can chat with us. Just look at the box below and sign in to the live chat room. Before I introduce our illustrious guests for this month's live broadcast, I want to give you a little bit of information about the Joseph's Network. We operate on 4 pillars. The first pillar is education, providing critical information to educate churches and other religious institutions and its members on how to properly prepare in times of disasters. Pillar number 2 is preparation, connecting churches and religious organizations and their members to vital resources needed to survive a disaster. Pillar number 3, implementation, equipping churches and religious organizations to support their members and local community in times of disaster. And the 4th pillar, cooperation, hence the name Joseph's Network, connecting current partners with the Joseph's Network to provide critical support and resources to communities devastated in a large-scale disasters. Now, I know we all listen to the news and we see the things that are going on in our immediate communities, in our cities, in our state, and around the country, as well as around the world. So the Joseph's Network, as I just read, the 4 pillars, is designed to help you and your community, especially among the religious community, to begin to prepare. So this evening, we called on one of our partners who has, over the last few months or close to a year that we've been organizing these particular sessions, called on one of our partners who has been very instrumental in teaching us and giving us the fundamentals on what to do to prepare for disaster or impending disaster. So I am honored to introduce to you this evening let me make sure I get this right because it's kind of a long title. The lead specialist for community resilience. And that's interesting. I'm going to ask him about this in a few moments. The lead specialist for community resilience for the state of Georgia with the American Red Cross, Mr. Karl Hoerz. Welcome, Karl, to Joseph's Network TV.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You know, I have had the opportunity to see you teach on several occasions. And I mean, just the basic information, things that I know I'm supposed to know, but in the perspective that you put them in, it was very enlightening and made me go back to my home and say, okay, I need to put these documents together. I need to put this thing together. But before we get to that, before we get to what you do in the community, I want you to let the members know and those who are watching this broadcast, give us a little bit of information about who Karl Hoerz is, what got you into this line of work or what you do.
Well, I started off volunteering with the Red Cross about 9 years ago. I was recently out of the military. Okay. And the Red Cross had come helped me out on a couple of incidents while I was in the Army. And I was going to school, had a couple days extra a week to do something with, so I wanted to volunteer and give back. That's how I got started. And everybody who's long in the tooth in the Red Cross, whether it's a paid staff or what I refer to as a professional volunteer, has that one incident that changed everything for them. For me, that incident was Hurricane Katrina. Wow. Okay. I was working at the Marietta office. At the time, we had an office in Marietta, and I was interning there, and the levees broke, and we had all the evacuations come in, and depending on who you get the number from, anywhere between 40 and 50,000 families evacuated to the Metro Atlanta area. Wow! And the Marietta office is right down the street from the air base over there. Oh, right. And so it was a major evacuation point, and we literally had a line to get into the building. A line literally going around the block. Wow. It almost made a full circle. Yeah. And just seeing all those people and the level of impact that they have, just all those stories. And after I had gotten out of the Army, I was kind of floating around without purpose. Gotcha. And I found it again. Yes. With working with the Red Cross in that event. Okay. And so that's what got me hooked into it. Career change right at that point. I was pursuing a career in culinary arts. Is that right? Okay. But that didn't have enough purpose. That didn't fill the need in here. Gotcha. And after that event, I knew that's what I wanted to do. That's what it was. Okay. Changed my path, and 8 years later, 9 years later, 8 years later, I'm now here, and happier than I could possibly be, more fulfilled than I could possibly ever thought of. helping people in times of disaster.
And in times of disasters, which is one of those situations where none of us want to go through a disaster, but they are going to happen. So to be in your position, and position like all of your volunteers, the thousands of volunteers that you all have, to be willing to go out and help people at that lowest moment is definitely to be commended. So as a lead specialist for community resilience, what does that mean? Break that down for us lay people.
Okay, well, community resilience is simply the means of being able to be affected by something and then recovering from it.
Okay, I like that. Right, resilience or bouncing back.
When you're talking about an object that is resilient, it takes the impact of something else and then it absorbs it and then comes back to its original form.
Yes.
Now, so to apply that concept to the community, disasters don't just affect somebody's home. I mean, that is on the immediate effect of somebody's home is disastrous, but it affects the community as a whole. If you have a tornado come through a rural community and destroy 50, 60, 100 homes, then those are individuals that need to bounce back, need to recover from that.
Right.
And also, that's a community that needs to recover from that. If the answer for those individual homes are they get their insurance, they end up buying property somewhere else in a different community, all of a sudden that community loses
that vitality.
That vitality. Right. So it operates on the individual level of what are you going to do to protect your home and your family and recover your home and family to get back to normal or whatever the new normal is going to be.
Right.
All the way to the community level of how is that community going to bounce back? How is that? Are they going to recover? So that the community itself stays strong.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Wonderful. And that's the aspect, again, until you just said it, I never thought about it, but yeah, if a disaster comes through and wipe out a multitude of homes and businesses, then that community could very well falter. So your aspect is looking at starting with the individual, the family, then the community.
Yeah. And what we try to do is, in resilience, is try to convene organizations that already exist in the community, like Joseph's Network, and get them to the table to start talking about how do we get prepared, how are we going to respond, and how are we going to recover from whatever the event is. And if you start talking these things ahead of time, then it's always going to be challenging.
Yes.
But if you start thinking about it ahead of time, at least you've got a leg up.
Right.
Something I say in my classes a lot is that the disaster preparedness isn't difficult. We all know we need food. We all know we need water, clothes, medications, things like that. But when the disaster happens, the first thing you lose is 50 IQ points. And
because of the stress of the situation.
Because of the stress of the situation. So a simple task of gathering those things all of a sudden becomes very complicated. So apply that to the community, the task of talking about, okay, how are we going to, as a community, recover from this if we get that conversation started ahead of time?
Great.
We're one step ahead.
I'm glad you're talking about that, because as you were saying that, I'm thinking about one of the things that one of my business colleagues says, and she actually named her company after, it's called More Awareness Now. Awareness. So what Joseph's Network is doing is a big chunk of what you just talked about is the preparedness piece. So if you don't mind, let's spend a few moments speaking about the preparedness piece. Yes, we know we need water, we need clothing, we need food. To build up to that, do you have, and I know you do because I've seen you present it, the 3 or 4 steps that each and every one of us should begin to start taking right now to prepare?
Certainly. Well, I mean, again, it's not complicated. It's just taking the time to think about it ahead of time. But regardless of what the disaster is, you can break it down to 3 basic steps.
Okay.
Step number 1 is to get a kit or make a kit.
Make a kit.
And a kit is basically those things that you need to get by in life. Food, clothing, water, medications, documentations of who you are, whether you own your home or not. Your
and
insurance.
that documentation, electronically, physical documentation, what would you suggest?
Yes.
Or all of the above? Okay.
All of the above.
Okay.
A physical one, depending on what the documentation is going to be more effective than a digital version. However, a digital version doesn't cost you anything. You scan it and email it to yourself.
Right.
You know, there's
and or put it on a jump drive.
Or put it on a jump drive. Having a physical document in many cases is going to be a better document to have.
Right.
However, if that document went away when the tornado went away,
absolutely, or got burned in the fire or whatever the situation.
Every item that you have in your kit or in your plan increases your odds for recovery tremendously. And it's about getting as many of those pieces as you can.
Okay.
So, I mean, even if it's, there's a lot of things that you can do to get prepared. If you can do one thing into the get a kit, and one thing into making the plan, and one thing in staying informed, that is you've increased your ability to recover tremendously.
Okay.
So I mean, when I say you need to get a kit, yes, you need to get a kit, and there's a whole list of things that you can put on there, which you can find it on our website.
Okay.
Also on your website as well.
Right.
There's a whole list of things in there. Don't be intimidated by this huge list of things. Get the things you can.
Right.
And put them in a container right next to the bed or right next to the door so that you can grab it on your way out.
Got it.
Okay. If it's and that's your start point with that. And that might simply be making a photocopy of your driver's license. Try to do anything in this country without proof of ID.
You get nowhere.
It's extraordinarily difficult.
Right.
So you have to have those things set up, away. And that's something that, you have that photocopy. It costs you, 10 cents at the library to do?
You can put multiple documents. I put my driver's license, my social security card, my credit cards, all on one. About 8 different things on one sheet.
It costs you 10 cents and 20, 30 cents if you have multiple sheets of paper. And it's made your recovery process tremendously.
And you mentioned on the American Red Cross website. You mind giving us that website?
Yeah, it's simply AmericanRedCross.org.
AmericanRedCross.org. On there is a sheet, a document showing what to. And you talk. It could be overwhelming, but one of the points that the Josephs Network wants to get across as we go out to the various churches and mosques and synagogues and other houses of worship is to start doing something now.
Exactly.
And I like what you just said. And I was thinking it before you said it was, as I run by the library, I run by copy center. Let me just go in and get these documents. It's in my wallet, copied right now. That'll take 10 minutes.
Those of your listeners that have a cell phone that can take photographs.
Yes.
Take your driver's license out right now.
Take a photograph.
Boom, take a photograph.
Email it to yourself.
And then there you go.
All right, just that simple.
I mean, I think a higher quality photocopy of it would be a better option, but that's it's about taking the steps.
Right, absolutely. And now that's step number 1.
That's step number 1.
Make the kit. What's step number 2?
Is make the plan.
Make the plan. Okay.
And there's a lot of different details to the plan, but effectively, it is it boils down to a couple of categories. How do you get out? And who does what?
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. Do you shelter in place? And if you don't shelter in place, how do you get out? How do you evacuate? And who does what in either of those situations? As far as the making the plan part, you can break it down into just a few broad categories. First of all, do you want to shelter in place or do you want to evacuate? And then second, after that, if you do evacuate, where you're going to what that evacuation plan is, and then the last bit is who's going to do what. Divide up responsibilities.
Okay.
So whether you're going to evacuate or shelter in place. When I say shelter in place, you're staying where you're at.
Right.
Okay, for the duration of
Right.
the disaster. In a tornado, you're not going to go running out into the street.
Don't run out.
You're
Please do not run out into the street.
You're going to stay put in the home. You're going to stay put
wherever that safe place is.
Wherever that safe
are.
place is.
Right.
If you're not in a safe place, you're going to find a safe place.
Right.
That's the extent of your evacuation.
Right.
And then you're going to wait out the disaster. If you need to evacuate on a small scale, it's a home fire. If the house is on fire, you need to get out. If it's on a large scale, there's if you're living on the coast and there's a hurricane coming in and there's an evacuation order, that's the evacuation. So when you've decided that you're going to evacuate, first thing you need to do is figure out what are going to be your routes of evacuation.
Okay.
You want to have at least one, preferably two or more.
Oh yes, definitely.
When you're in a home that's on fire, you go. The first route is through the front door. The second route is maybe through a window, out the back door, or somewhere else. Right. In case that first avenue is blocked up.
Available to you.
On a large scale, on a hurricane, that is, if you're on the coast, are you taking Interstate 16 up to Macon and finding someplace there?
Right.
And where are you going to meet up for escape, for evacuation?
Right.
Are you going to? Do you have family that you're going to be able to stay with?
Family, friends.
Do you have friends? Do you have congregation members?
Right.
Do you have a hotel? Do you need to stay in a Red Cross shelter? And do any of these things that you're going to be going to have the ability to accommodate your needs? Do you have pets? Are you going to a hotel that's going to allow you to have pets? Do you have specific medical supplies that you need? And if not, is the shelter going to be able to adequately help you with that? So those are the kind of things that you need to think about in your evacuation plan. And then divvying up the responsibilities.
Right.
In the case of the fire, who grabs the kids? Who grabs the disaster kit? Who grabs the dog?
Right.
All these different things. Right. And make sure, and if one of you is home, or if it's just yourself, are you responsible for all these things? If you have other people, but one of them isn't home, who takes up that slack?
Picks up the slack, right.
If you're at work and fire's at home and your family's there, when you get home, is there a place that you're going to meet up with them? That's part of the evacuation plan, is to meet up. Is there a place that you're going to meet up so you're not panicking, where's my family at when you get there?
Right.
So those are the kind of things that you want to talk about. And that is simply, the start on that is simply having that conversation.
And I was just thinking that, Karl, because when you first started talking about the plan, one of the intrinsic benefits, and this is what, again, we want to get across through those members of the Josephs Network, is now we have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Family members have to, when I say family members, congregational members, whatever group that you are a part of, living with, working with, now we have to sit down and talk to each other and then map out these things, map out a plan.
And that's where the 50 IQ points come in.
Right. Because if you're under the stress, you're going to lose it. But if you got that backup,
then it's kind of like it's a bad analogy, but I'm going to use it anyway. When I was in the Army and we trained to do whatever task that we did, we trained over and over and over and over and over again to the point where even if you were in a combat situation, you're going to be able to do that task without thought.
It's automatically there. It's like in a lot of disciplines, like in the martial arts or anything that we do repeatedly is ingrained in us now. So without thinking, without consciously thinking about it, you do it. So it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is in making the plan that we as a unit go through some drills. So
I strongly recommend that. And on that point, I'm going to ask your viewers, all of you that have gone to public school growing up,
right,
you all had the fire drills on a regular basis, once every 2-3 months,
right.
And I guarantee you that if you have children that are going to public school, or had children that go into public school, they go through those same drills. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you practice fire drills with your family at home?
Wow.
80% of home fires happen at night.
While everyone is asleep, you relax.
And I between 33 and 3,500 children are injured or killed in home fires every year
in the state of Georgia.
Throughout the country.
Statistically,
wow. I have looked very hard. I have yet to find over the last 2-3 years any information about a person getting seriously injured or killed in a fire at school.
Right. Because of the safety measures.
Now, to bring that around, I'm challenging your viewers.
Right.
If it's okay for them to practice those safety measures and look at the results that happen, you don't get those injuries, you don't get those deaths. Why, if you're not doing those drills at your home, why aren't you? That's where the deaths and injuries are happening. Have the plan and practice the plan. Make sure that they understand what needs to go on.
Absolutely. And as you said that too, Carl, dealing with the home front, but as the Joseph's Network target our religious places of worship, we need to have those in our
definitely
at least be a majority, or not even a majority, but a great number of leaders within the congregation go through drills, so something should happen during times that there's large numbers of people in the building, that those people know how to evacuate. And I've been in many churches, mosques, places like that. I've never been involved in a drill.
So. No, I've never seen it happen either.
Right.
And I mean, so again, to your viewers, particularly those of you that are in leadership positions at your faith-based organizations, what happens if there's a fire, or if all of a sudden there's a tornado watch or warning? What is your plan?
What's the plan?
To do?
We have to start talking to each other. Step number 3 in the 3-point
is keep informed.
Keep informed.
That is educating yourself, and there's lots of information out there at the Josephs Network. They have a lot of information, redcross.org. You can also go to your local GEMA website. If you just Google GEMA for your county, it will come up with that. GEMA stands for Georgia Emergency Management Agency.
Okay.
Go to any of those sites, and there'll be lots of information out there, and there's lots of information out there from other sites as well. And just educate yourself on that, and also keep connected with what's going on. Now, historically, when we're talking about that, we're talking about, you're listening to the TV reports, your radio reports.
Mm-hmm.
If you have tornado sirens going off, you know what that means. But now in today's society, we also have apps and social media.
Absolutely, yes.
The Red Cross has several apps out there. They're all free to download.
Okay.
If you go on your smartphone and you search Red Cross apps. It will give you the whole list. Here in Georgia, the ones that I'd like you to really pay attention to would be the hurricane app, the tornado app, and the first aid app. Yeah, and there's other apps there as well too, but those are the ones that I feel are like no Georgian should not have that. Every Georgian should have those. The first aid app is just really handy to have around. You know, if somebody gets injured, you can go ahead and you're not exactly sure what to do.
Just pull it up.
Just pull it up. All the different injuries. You just pick the injury. It'll give you a little explanation of what to do. The tornado apps and the hurricane apps will give you the hurricane and tornado warnings, and as a
for your area,
for the area that you're physically located at, or the phone's physically located at, and you can register a specific area.
Other cities,
So, I have, for instance, my phone is hooked up. So right now, if we suddenly became under a tornado watch or warning, it would alert me. But I also have it hooked up for my sisters that live in the Jacksonville area. Because obviously in Jacksonville, hurricanes are an issue.
On the coast,
and I know my sisters, and quite honestly, they're not going to pay attention until I tell them they need to pay attention.
Got it.
So I have that set up. And, you know, you can always turn the autolocator off if you want to. But unless you do that, I mean, even if you have the phone on mute, as long as the phone is on,
it'll give you some type of alert.
It will alert you. And it will wake you up in the middle of the night and give you a heart attack. But it does get it done. So we have the apps, and then social media. Red Cross, your local EMA, Emergency Management Agency, GEMA, FEMA, they all have Facebook accounts, they all have Twitter accounts, and you can become members of these, and they will keep you updated on information. Remember the snowstorm that we had a few years ago?
Yes. Got locked in my office for 5 days.
Oh, I am sorry. Did you have a kit?
I had some food. Some water.
You know, Red Cross, we were putting out updates on the storm's progress and where the areas were likely to be hit and what the agencies were doing to help out. We were putting that on Facebook and Twitter all the time. So that's another good way to keep connected. So just, you know, it's doing your homework and educating yourself about disasters and keeping connected with your community. That's also one of the things I really like about Joseph's Network. Is it's built in to keep connected. You got that information part taken care of.
Right. Absolutely. In this day and time, being in the literally the information age is at our fingertips. There's no excuse for any of us, especially you that's listening to this live broadcast, not to take action. And what I really like, because I don't consider myself the real technical type person, but it takes 5 or 6 minutes to go on to my phone and download these 3 apps. Now I have it. Right, it may not even take that long. But so these are things that we can do, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. And it's chipping away, too, at that list.
And, and you know, with those three categories right now, if your viewers make a kit, they go and they make photocopies of the important documents. You know, boom, done. If they make that plan and talk to their family about how to evacuate
these
their
evacuation
home,
routes inside the house as well as outside the neighborhood and outside the city.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a conversation you have for, you know, on surface level it's 5 minutes. If you get detailed, no longer than a half an hour.
Right.
You know, and then keep informed. And that's, you know, you go to Joseph's Network, you go to redcross.org, you download these apps on a smartphone if you have it. Boom. And that has cost you, altogether, that's cost you the cost of a couple of photocopies. And it's taken you, you know,
just a little bit of time.
You can do all of that in an hour.
Right.
You know, that's including travel time to get to the library.
Right.
Yeah,
it's just to get
very,
started.
and that those three things is going to be a huge difference in how you recover from whatever disaster.
Hence your community resilience.
Yes, sir.
That's why you're the specialist.
Wow.
The lead specialist. Well, Karl, thank you so much for taking time out of your very, very busy schedule
Well, thank you for
to
having
share
me.
this information with the members of the Josephs Network. And I know you have you're preparing. You all are always preparing at the American Red
That
Cross.
is the name of the game.
Right, because you never know. I was at your office once before, and we got a chance to see the operations center.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was looking at that, I'm thinking, you guys are like the fire department in a sense. When that disaster comes in, you get that phone call, you have to dispatch immediately people, your vast network to that particular thing. So we really commend your efforts, the work that you all do in those situations. All right?
Thank you.
So you have a great evening, Karl. Thank you very much. You've been watching the Josephs Network TV monthly live broadcast. Thank you for tuning in, and you do have the live chat. We'll be going on for a few more minutes, so if you have questions, please ask your questions. You can always go to JosephsNetwork.com and take a look at what we have to offer. Become a member of the Josephs Network and look forward to our mini summits that we'll be having in the Metro Atlanta area, as well as our annual summit beginning. That will be the next one. The second annual one is next year. But go to the JosephsNetwork.com, sign up, and you can stay abreast of that information. And we look